Dear students, good morning. Welcome to Law Excellence IAS. Let us start the discussion on today's newspaper, that is 8th October 2020. The first article for discussion is Using Facts to Hide Underlying Truths. Here we are differentiating between the fact and truth. We normally believe that when a person lies, he is deceiving us. But there are other ways of deceiving when the facts are told too. So they may tell you the fact, but they will try to hide the truth from you. How it happens, that is what we need to see over here. Many a times when multiple facts are there, they try to give a lesser fact to hide the bigger fact. So in an incident, if there is a lesser fact, it means a fact that can create lesser impact. It is being projected forward to hide the other facts. This is about distortion of the truth. Many a times politicians use it or people in power use it. Let us take economy is in distress today. So to keep the focus of the people away from this economy, if the government is trying to bring drugs case etc., which is another fact forward, it is essentially distortion of the truth or keeping the people away from the truth. This is nothing but deceit. Second thing, some general statements are made which are like universal truths and they avoid the specifics. Tomorrow when someone questions, I said this general statement that can be inferred to this situation like this. So through universal facts and general truths, they try to hide the specific incidents and specific facts. Let us talk about this. Many of the people in power on recent rape in UP stated that the death of the girl is very painful. Here we need to see death and painful. So death means we may conclude it as natural or forced. Here this is forced. It means by using the word death, a general word, they have avoided the real fact there, which is actually killing of this woman. Second thing, it is painful. It means we are hiding the real identity of this woman which has led to this gruesome crime, that is gender identity and also the caste identity of the woman. So a Dalit woman was brutally raped and killed. That would have been the right statement. It created anger, a sense of loss and loss of collective consciousness of the society, etc. These kind of statements, when they come, obviously we can understand what is the real truth behind it. So the truth can be distorted by stating the facts too. And these facts are systematically stated that the person who is on the other side or the audience do not get the real impact or real perception of the truth. That is the essence of this article. And second, the author says that crimes that are based on an individual's identity have to be considered as a different category of crimes. The reason is this crime is virulent and it spreads fast. In many of the countries, this kind of identity crimes finally ended up as crimes against humanity or civil war kind of situations. That is what author is stating here. The next article is Playing catch up in flood forecasting technology. In India, weather forecasting, flood forecasting are done by two organizations. Weather forecasting is done by Indian Meteorological Department, IMD. Flood forecasting will be done by Central Water Commission. It means information has to come to CWC and CWC has to assess the risk. From there it has to go to the disaster management authorities or administrators on the ground like municipal authorities, police, etc. This is the chain of information flow. If IMD is able to predict weather much ahead and Central Water Commission is able to assess the danger much ahead, then the lead time for these ground forces to react will increase. The lead time means the time available for you to respond, take action and save life. If this lead time increases, obviously that saves millions of lives from these natural disasters which we see day in and day out. As of now in India, this lead time is just 24 hours. If you see CWC warnings, they are mostly determinative. Determinative, it means the water level is increasing, decreasing, flood is about to come, but they do not say what area is expected to be flooded. If we want to know which area, how much, who will get affected, we need something called inundation models. What is that? Inundation models. It means digital models to predict if level 8 comes, then which areas are expected to be flooded, who have to be evacuated, that information is required. And second, lead time has to be increased. To increase the lead time, author says an ensemble weather model is required. This ensemble weather model, it will give at least a week's lead time for the forces on the ground to act. US, Japan and European Union all use this weather forecast, ensemble weather forecast and also flood forecast models. India need to adopt that particular technology. What is this ensemble weather model forecast? Let our geography teacher explain it to you in detail. The next article is identity game in Bihar politics. If identity politics have to be learnt in India, the starting point can be the Bihar. The identity politics, especially caste and religious politics, are entrenched, and OBC politics, or else the rise of OBCs into political scenario has started from Bihar and UP. Added to that, the socialistic politics, especially Mr. Malavia, Mulayam Singh Yadav, all these people, they have started their journey from UP and Bihar. In this case, these elections are very special because they are happening in the midst of COVID-19. Added to that, economic crisis is looming in. In spite of this, the author predicts that NDA can have a safe victory. The biggest reason is there is no alternative. Today, in the central elections, that is elections to parliament or to the state legislatures, the narrative we are hearing is, what is the better alternative? Can't we see this as a leadership crisis in India? Why did this leadership crisis has come in the first place? It is due to centralized politics in India. The dangers of the centralized politics are visible to all of us. The centralized politics creates the leadership crisis in the long run. It has started during Indira Gandhi era, and today we have this crisis. Remember the take home point, centralization in political parties and polity in general, political culture in general, will create leadership crisis, which is not good for the country. So decentralization of power is the need of the hour to ensure better leadership for future and the leadership to come from the people. And second thing is, the very politics are aligned on the caste and religion basis. In this case, more than the development, assessment of the performance of a given government, what is driving the people is the social identity. So, lack of effective social engineering, and second, fragmentation of the voters due to various political parties in opposition. All this is making NDA's victory in Bihar a cakewalk. For us, take home point is, that is centralization in political parties, lack of internal democracy in political parties is the reason for the existing leadership crisis. The second thing is fragmentation of the opposition, lack of consolidated voice, effective voice from opposition is weakening the democracy. These are the two take home points for us. Next article is 4 for 1. This is about recently concluded Quad meeting. You know that Quad stands for these 4 countries, democratic countries in Indo-Pacific, India, Australia, Japan and US. In this case, is Quad is going to be a military alliance or just an organization to represent multilateralism? In United States of America's words, Quad is supposed to raise to the death or to the danger caused by China. In this case, South China Sea, East China Sea and then line of actual control disputes are spoken by United States of America. But if Quad is more seen as a military organization, it gives legitimacy for China to build up its army further. It will increase the tensions in this particular region. As India is the immediate neighbor, it will have consequences for it. Second, if you take Japan and Australia, these are the alliance partners to United States of America. India is not an alliance partner to US. India believes in its strategic autonomy. So that is the reason why India need to navigate this particular narrative very safely, very thoughtfully. That is what the author is trying to say here. And second is, India-Japan finalized text for pact for artificial intelligence 5G. So today, artificial intelligence 5G is very important. China was leading in this before. As counter narrative of development started now, Japan is going to be a major supplier of this technology, especially 5G for the world. Quad utility is more in trade because economic might is the strength of China. So rather than thinking militarily and strategically about China, think economically about China. Strategic logistics alliance which is going to come up is also about developing the trade between these countries, developing that value added or value addition in India, and supply chains we need to increase our presence. This is what is required. Next, the next article is gig workers and its skewed terms. You know, gig workers refers to platform based workers who represent working for Swiggy, Zomato, Uber, Ola, all these people come under gig workers. Now, the new labor codes, do they protect the or give any security to these gig workers? Remember, gig workers do not earn the wages. They earn only the service charges. So delivery charges they get. Second thing, normally labor rights, how they developed? They developed surrounding factory and wage of the workers. So wage and factory, these two sittings do not exist. Here the factory means a small app. And third thing is, these app based companies are technology mammoths. They are very big and their headquarters are not in India, they are located somewhere outside. Enforcing regulation on them is almost impossible. You saw the case of WhatsApp. Government is trying to regulate it and it is becoming almost impossible. In this case, the labor codes, especially code on social security, recognized these gig workers as a separate category. It has provided a recognition to them. But is this recognition is sufficient for them to protect their rights? This recognition will help them to get certain benefits, but not labor rights. As I said to you, labor rights are built around the framework of factory and wage. Supreme Court, public places cannot be occupied indefinitely. In the context of Shanbog protests, where a road was occupied by the protesters for months together, Supreme Court has stated that right of the protesters and right of the commuters need to be balanced. And Supreme Court has identified an important point over here. Today in technology driven world, the movements are fueled by social media. These are spontaneous and leaderless. These spontaneous leaderless movements, these are creating or these are rudderless, and that's where the technology and social media both boon and bane for public movements. They can help to mobilize the masses very quickly. At the same time as they are leaderless and they don't have a structure and idea, they fizzle out very quickly. That is what is the Supreme Court's point, which you need to remember to quote in your answer. Next is, check facial recognition misuse. You know, democracy and surveillance do not go in hand. Most of the times, state takes up the surveillance to protect itself. But the surveillance shall be to protect the order. It is not to protect the state itself. In that case, mass surveillance is becoming a norm with face use technologies. If you take Hyderabad itself, entire Hyderabad is installed with these face technologies, face recognition technologies by the traffic police. It may have uses, but at the same time, if we see it from the lens of democracy, where the right to privacy, right of the citizens to enjoy his protest, right to protest, etc., these all get undermined. So the state can monitor who is in protest and can take a personal action against them. If you talk about China, the Uyghur Muslims, they are being kept in jails for their protest by using this particular technology. So the facial recognition technology, if misused, it can have devastating effects to rights of the people and the democracy. The final article of the day, makers of gene scissors win chemistry Nobel. The two women, one from France, other from USA, Emmanuelle Charpentier of France, Jennifer Doudna of US, have won Nobel Prize for Chemistry. What did they do? They have developed a technology that is called CRISPR-Cas9 technology, which is a gene scissor. You can cut the gene and which is bad gene, and you can place the good gene in that place. That way DNA recombinant technology has become very successful because of this, and its utility is spread from cancer to birth of designer babies. Everywhere it can be used. So it has got wider applications. The CRISPR-Cas9 technology developers have got the chemistry Nobel this year. These are the articles for today. Thank you very much. I have tried to use a new mic today. Probably it will solve the issues of voice. Thank you very much. Have a great day.